Hi everybody. So I'm gonna make a video today about covert and overt narcissism, and then I'm gonna talk about how and why covert and overt narcissists support one another, and how this manifests in a workplace setting. Now, covert and overt, the type of narcissist that you're dealing with, it's pretty self-explanatory what a covert and overt narcissist is. Overt means that they are openly narcissistic. They openly hate humanity, hate people. They show their cynicism, they show their sadism, they constantly gloat about themselves. They constantly put other people down and do so in a very brazen manner without any sort of hidden agenda. It's very out in the open. And by contrast, covert narcissism means that they hold their narcissism within, and their mask is a lot more how do you say, plastered onto their face than an overt narcissist. So the covert narcissist comes out to be a very jovial, joking, positive person, constantly joking around, constantly being whoop-de-doo, constantly being positive, constantly saying, sure, absolutely, I agree, thank you. So at first glance, you would think that this person is very sympathetic and very sweet and very kind and very people-oriented, etc., etc. But beneath this facade, this veneer of happy-go-lucky, optimistic, thinking about the children, thinking about the churches, championing a cause, there lies exactly the same sort of persona that the overt narcissist has. That of the person that is always willing to take somebody down, to ruin somebody's day, to wipe the smile off of somebody's face, to deprive somebody of their joy. So essentially, it's exactly the same person, but manifested in different ways. Their illness is manifested in different ways. And many times the covert narcissists will be very self-deprecating. They will be very complimentary towards their victims. But this complimentary style is kind of offset by this couching behavior that they have. So the complimentary style is always cloaked in some sort of deprecation or devaluation of their person, of their target. So, for example, the narcissist will compliment you and then quickly switch gears and say something demeaning towards you. And so the victim thinks, or the target thinks, I can't really openly tell people that this person is an asshole because he compliments me in front of people while disparaging me behind closed doors or behind other people's back. And that's the way they isolate you, is that their veneer of positivity, their veneer of constant grace and calm and buoyancy of spirit is contrasted by the sort of things that they say to people that they think will give them the maximal amount of narcissistic supply, right? So they're fishing for that emotion, that look of confusion, that look of complete and total disorientation that their victims or their targets give them when they show their true face, is essentially why they have the cloak of positivity, because they understand very well that their reputation insulates them from the moments when they obtain their narcissistic supply by being their malignant, disgusting, vapid selves. So, for example, and the thing is, most people in this community understand the concept of covert narcissism, but you really have to be with one for a while in order to really see their true self, because they're very crafty at creating this positive persona. They're very crafty at that. And it takes a while for people to truly, definitively say, okay, this is a covert narcissist, because they're constantly changing face. And, yeah. Okay, so that's number one. Now I wanted to go back to why they need each other. Why do covert narcissists need overt narcissists, and particularly in the workplace setting? Now, it's important to understand that both of the narcissists, both covert and overt narcissists, are looking for exactly the same thing. They're looking for narcissistic supply. So they're looking for the victim to either give them some sort of emotional reaction, some sort of sadness, some sort of look of like come again. They're looking for that emotional reaction, and they're also looking for co-workers to turn against one another in order to fight for resources, whether that be for a promotion, for money, for being able to stay at the job, for having to do certain tasks that are probably more reputable within the organization, for promotion, any number of things. It could be for a bonus. So they're trying to create drama, they're trying to create chaos, and even though they don't like each other, narcissists don't like each other necessarily. The covert narcissist does not like the overt narcissist. Neither type likes each other, but essentially because they are the same pieces of shit, they have the same goals, the same wishes, they coordinate with one another in order to achieve the same motive, the same end. So frequently what you'll have is you'll have a covert narcissist at the top of the organization. Let's say they're the president of the organization, and then they have an overt narcissist as a manager or as an employee or as a marketing executive. And the covert narcissist will use the overt narcissist in order to extract narcissistic supply, but not have to do the dirty work themselves. So in other words, if they have some sort of very toxic, very demeaning, very disgusting manager that is constantly micromanaging other employees, that is constantly berating the work of other employees, that is constantly making other employees feel unworthy, disgusting, or in some way defective, they kill two birds with one stone. They don't have to expose their true nature, thereby they maintain their persona as covert narcissist that is not necessarily mean-spirited outwardly, But at the same time, they're sitting in the corner and they're laughing at their employees who are subjected to this incredible emotional turmoil because of this overt manager, right? And then when their employees complain to this covert narcissist about this overt narcissist, they can say, oh yeah, I'll talk to her or I'll talk to him, and you can't be this sensitive, and it's a workplace, you have to be professional, and people will be people, and this is the nature of life. I sympathize with you, but come on, like, you have to grow up. So he'll essentially be telling the employee to take this abuse on a daily basis, because they're going to ultimately say, listen, I appointed this person as manager, they're there for a reason, take it or leave it. And that leaves people in a pickle. Like, they either leave the organization or they have to continue subjecting to themselves to verbal abuse, psychological abuse, constant micromanaging, constant gaslighting, constant smear campaigning, triangulation, the whole bit. So this interdependence between the covert and the overt narcissist is the kind of organizational structure wherein the toxicity of the environment is upheld. The covert and overt narcissists both get their supply, and it's a very dysfunctional organization usually, but that's exactly how they like it. They like dysfunction, they like chaos, they like oil spills that then they can point to their other employees that are actually doing the job and say, you created this oil spill, even though you didn't really create this oil spill. They arranged for you to create this oil spill by constantly making you stressed and unfocused and unhinged and panicky. So the question is, how do you manage this sort of organization? How do you manage this sort of toxic environment? Well, you have basically two choices. You either leave or you stay. And if you stay, the only weapon you have in order to offset this sort of behavior, although again, I don't recommend staying in these organizations, but suppose you are in this organization already. First of all, you cannot be afraid of being fired, because if you're afraid of being fired, then you're basically giving into this kind of slave, this role of slave, and you're giving into this sort of slave mentality wherein you're giving your power to these people, like it or not, and you're giving them the fear and the dread and the shakiness and the instability that they want in order to feed off of you. And if you let them know that you're afraid of being fired, then that's exactly the sort of fix that they're looking for. So first of all, you have to dispel this fear of being fired, because it is a compliment to be fired in an organization like this. Being fired means that they realize that they cannot extract supply from you, because you're a strong person. You're a person that thinks for themselves and is a quality person and is not willing to go on their knees and do whatever they want for you to stay. Okay, so the first thing you have to do is dispel the fear of being fired, because in the long run we know that our dignity is more important to us than a job is. Okay? That's number one. And I'm going to continue this video after this short break.